listening to ASOTU CON Sessions by Effectv, live from ASOTU CON 2023. Ben, thank you so much for joining me on ASOTU CON Sessions by Effectv.
Thank you for having me.
And I just want to thank you all for being such supporters of ASOTU CON and being a part of the movement.
Yeah, I think the message that you guys are putting out there is exactly what the industry needs right now. So we are 100% behind you guys and making that happen. We had a great time last year at the first ASOTU CON in Philly. And so we're really looking forward to coming back here again.
Yeah, well, you're here and we're in full effect. I think we've kind of stepped it up a notch.
Yeah,
and
it looks great.
The energy and then just the compliments around all the sponsors that have helped make this.
Yeah, this is a fantastic setup.
Fantastic. So let's talk about your trip in automotive. And I love it when I don't know all the backstory because we can get into it a little bit. How did you get into automotive to begin with?
So in 2016, our company recognized that the automotive vertical just had so many arms and legs to it, and it was way too important from an advertising perspective, and that we had to have people who were specialists in it. And so we created.
Who was selling it before then?
It was just anybody.
The same guy selling the plumbing company and the
exactly
pizza
right.
place.
Yep,
okay,
100%. And so in 2016, they said we're going to stand up the automotive vertical, and we're going to have teams that are solely focused on calling on automotive dealers.
I can't believe that it is that recent.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's been a long time.
7 years.
We have grown leaps and bounds. The account executives and the management and the leadership that we have dedicate. There's so much time and resources put towards understanding the business, putting together technologies to help dealers reach their audiences, and it's a really fun ride. It's been great.
Tell me about the team that you lead, and like the team that you're on, the team that you lead. You know, what is the structure look like?
So my team in Philly, we got two teams. My team pretty much handles the PA side of Philadelphia. We bleed a little bit into Jersey. But I think if you add up the years that we've been with the company, it's probably somewhere around 100.
No, it's one of those.
So it's just it's
over a century of experience.
Super experienced. Everybody's a professional. I got 4 lone wolves. They kick butt every day, and I love working with them. They're just great people. They really are. Most of them are friends. I've known them all because I've been there 20 years. So that makes a great environment. I think whenever you're doing business with a company, to be working with people who enjoy working together makes all the difference in the actual performance, in my experience. And it helps when you're in, sometimes high stress environments, when you know the people you're dealing with really well, and you can communicate on that level. It's nice. I'm lucky. I really am with the team I have.
Fantastic. You have access, and I think a unique view on the industry because you see what a lot of people are doing. You have access to a lot of data. You have access to a lot of channels. What are the things that are kind of like bubbling to the surface from your perspective, from an advertised perspective, from a video perspective, that you might have a unique awareness of that a lot of people may not be seeing yet?
So I think what's happening now is first-party data is like king, right? And when we're talking to dealers, whether they're doing something with us, because obviously there's a lot of vendors out there, and a lot of them can be helpful. The ones that are dealing in first-party data are the ones that we recommend. Where we can kind of pull in other really good companies like Polk, or even start to do data sharing with dealers. And things like that to really reach audiences and get.
What does that mean? Like educate me. Data sharing with dealers.
Okay, so and this is, we've tested this where in a third-party compliant way we upload our subscriber data compared to the customer data for a specific dealership, and then we can run ads that are on networks and websites targeted towards their particular customer
without sharing data one way or another.
Without sharing one way or the other.
Right, it's kind of matching it up, clean room.
Yeah, right. Yep. It's in third party. And what, it's sort of the next level of that, because one of the ways that we tested it is with the dealer group, and it was during chip, and they wanted to do a message of, we want to buy your car back, right? Because they sold the car to them, now they want to buy it back because they were looking for inventory. Another extension of that is to sort of create like a lookalike audience. So these are people or households that have characteristics of a dealer's customer, but may not have necessarily purchased from that dealer yet. So what better way to try to acquire new customers than to reach somebody who looks like your customer but hasn't worked with you yet, right?
Got it.
So that's kind of some of the things that we're headed towards now. I mean, addressable has always been something that was sort of pie in the sky, and we're just starting to have those discussions.
Explain that, because I think that some people listening to these shows have varying levels of understanding. So
Yeah.
we say addressable.
So addressable meaning if we're choose your target in market for SUV, we know based on with Polk information and the subscriber data that we have that we can literally deliver a commercial to a household that we know has an SUV that potentially could be 3 years old and they might be in the market again.
Yep.
And that's really what we're going towards. I mean, we're in the early stages of that, but that's where it's headed. And as TV becomes more digital and as TV becomes more like the internet, we're only going to have more abilities to target.
So targeting ability, definitely on the rise big time. Your
Yeah.
ability to match data up, especially as dealers are getting more intentional about collecting and aggregating their first party data, right? There's obviously this big intersection that is here now that has never been here before.
Yeah,
And it is certainly just poised to keep getting deeper.
Well, and that's one of the sort of the prerequisites for if we're going to try and do these things with dealers is they have to do a really good job of managing their back end systems, right? And so the ones that we've done this with and piloted so far are people who are set up for it, because not everybody is yet.
Yeah, I think that's something that's happening in a conversation I'm hearing a lot, is a lot of conversations about CDPs and what are people actually doing with it.
Yeah.
If they get like, okay, like I want to get one, and then what do I do with my data? Like
Right.
you need something to still like deploy it.
Yep.
And I think that's a big misunderstanding. Like a CDP, I don't have one. Do you have one? You have one? I need one.
Right.
Right. So
And then what do you do with it?
Right. And then what do you do with it? So
Yeah.
you're saying that you're working with people that kind of are already on the path, getting it together, that
100%.
know what to do it under. So there's like a requisite understanding.
Yeah, and I think
commitment to it.
The industry is getting there. Some people are there. A lot aren't, and that's okay. They're evolving like we're evolving, and the technologies will continue to get better, and then we'll kind of grow together.
And if you make the investment and the time investment in learning, and you do, what's the upside of getting it together and then starting to deploy that first party data in a sophisticated way through a video advertising platform?
It's efficiencies, right? The media market is so fragmented now, and anything that you can do, because you can't be everywhere all the time. So if you have the ability to, especially with first party data, to know that you're targeting in the best way possible and putting yourself in front of the audiences that are most likely to purchase a vehicle from your dealership through geography and or what they have sitting in their driveway, then that's a huge plus. It's a huge plus.
So, all right. So we're talking about the data. We're talking about deploying it well. Let's talk for a minute about creative. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
And so the creative game in video advertising has changed a lot. What works, what doesn't work. Definitely people that are more in a streaming mindset than a network television mindset.
Yep,
right?
that's
We're
right.
starting to see all these things kind of come into play. When you think about the creative that auto dealers are using, and maybe if you put your wish list together for the type of creative you wish they were making or would encourage them to make, what are they making, and what do you think they should be making? I mean, obviously, I'm making very big blanket statements about.
Well, it's about what's going on in the market, right? When we went through COVID and we were in Pennsylvania and dealers' doors were shut, it was the messaging shifted to our doors are still open for service. We can still service your vehicle. As we went through chip, we had a lot of dealers that wanted to buy cars back, and they're willing to pay the most for their car. And we still see a lot of that. So there's a lot that resonates with that. I mean, me personally, I like things that are funny. It's hard to pull off funny and an incentive in the same ad without being like goofy.
Funny, not goofy.
Yeah,
right.
but there's some really quirky ones that I love. It's sometimes it's fun just to literally go into our video library and just start looking at car dealer commercials.
I would love to see
And
that so much.
There's some. I'm gonna send you.
Please do. I was gonna say I'm gonna hit you up, because we will like play these things as like intermission video clips at
I'll
ASOTU
get in trouble.
Con.
I get in trouble. You got to watch it, and you can't show anybody.
Okay, well, this if you see something and are offended by it in the future, this I didn't get it from Ben.
That's right.
I just found it on the internet.
I know nothing.
No, but I would love to see the fun stuff.
Yeah, there's
the
some
goofy
good stuff out there.
I often encourage dealers to look at other retail industries and say, like, what type of content are they making? What type of content do you not skip? And I think there's this thought that, like, when we're making car commercials,
Yeah.
it's got to feel like a car commercial. Kyle and I were working with a dealer group, and we were watching the car commercials. We were kind of on a consultative basis, and the commercials were like, I don't know if this agency's gonna cut it.
Yeah.
Right? You look at it and it's like it looks like a guy walking between two lines of cars, waving his hands, like oh, this one and this one and this one.
Right.
And then we were having this conversation with the dealer, the general manager, and then what happened was we were like, let me check this agency's website. We got to their website and they had some of the coolest content I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's cool.
Music videos,
Yeah.
and we were like, they had just left, and we called them. Like, can you call them and have them come back? Right. So the owner agency comes back and he's sweating at this point because like he probably feels so bad, and we're like, hey, what, where'd all this stuff go? This great content that we
Yeah.
just saw. How
Yeah.
come like that's what you're making? And they were like, oh well, we had to make a car commercial.
Well, some of it's co-op, right? So the dealer gets co-op
right.
because they have to do
Of
X, Y, and
course.
Z in the
Right.
commercial.
And I'm not advocating for like, with the empathy to that.
Yeah.
Just the manner in which it doesn't mean it can't be shot well,
Right.
Or
Yeah, 100%.
creatively,
100%,
or
yeah.
the music curation can't be different, and
Yes.
that's the mindset I think that a lot of dealers get in. And from your standpoint, you're like, please give us some great creative because it's just going to perform. How much? Let me ask you,
Yeah.
when you have a piece of content that has good creative,
Yep.
how much differently does it perform?
Well, I mean, the view-through rate on most of what we're doing from a streaming standpoint is non-skippable anyway. So
Okay.
it all performs pretty well.
Gotcha.
Some of the things that we recommend, depending on if you're doing any kind of short form or long form, if you're going to show up in a 2-minute clip on something, you keep it to a 15, and that's normally like straight up incentive driven. If it's going to be more long form, we're sticking with the 30 because you get the opportunity to tell your story and it's non-skippable. It's in that non-skippable environment. I mean, the standard commercial is a donut where it's the dealer in the beginning, it's the incentive in the middle, and it's the dealer at the end. But some of the best ones they don't use co-op for because they want the creativity to be able to make their dealership top of mind as opposed to, it's one
The brand and the
$1.99
car that
now,
we're
$1.99
selling
month.
right now.
Yeah.
I have seen a number of dealers that have stepped back from co-op
Yeah.
for that, and I can say it because I don't have anyone to answer to, I guess. I really wish that OEMs or co-ops would take a serious look at that and get a little bit more broad in what they allow co-op to contribute to and what they don't. And I think in order for that to happen, the marketers on the dealer side also have to understand what the co-op is trying to accomplish.
Right.
And I do believe that there's a world where they both live. Now, granted, sometimes it just needs to be like a 15-second incentive.
Yep.
But we know that that's not the only thing the customer saw.
Exactly. I think the best campaigns don't have just one commercial, right? They've got
Give me an ideal campaign.
an ideal campaign. You're running one commercial that is truly hard-hitting incentive. This is your monthly incentive. You've got another branding spot that talks about you and the community and the dealership, your dealership, what you do, why that your people live in the community, they work in the community. And then again, I'd throw another one in that's just sort of quirky, funny, something that people are going to watch because it's entertaining.
Yeah.
If you can marry that up where as you get towards the end of the month, you're driving the incentive a little bit more. Earlier in the beginning of the month, you do something that's a little more soft sell.
Right. The mix changes.
Right. So to me, that's sort of the right balance.
Dynamic and well-rounded.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of work. You have to, stay on the creative. So
Well, that's one of the reasons I think that so many co-op dollars are actually wasted.
Yeah.
Because if you put a little bit of work into it, they wouldn't be wasted, right?
Yep.
That's where we start to get into where things start to sound like noise.
Right.
And then it's bad for everybody. It's bad for every co-op dealer. It's bad for the OEM.
I think at that point, when you're just doing the incentive, you're literally talking to somebody who's like, I think I need to buy a car.
You have
now.
to know, right?
Right.
You have to know that they're ready to go, and you also have to know or have to believe that you've done the work
Yeah.
to kind of have them take a step forward.
Right. So that's what we think some of the other creative can be used for, is to sort of drive people into the consideration phase where then the hard-hitting incentive hits home a little bit sooner than it might have otherwise.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, it's been so much fun.
Thank you, Paul. It's been
Sharing a
great.
podcast stage with you for a little bit at ASOTU CON. Thanks again for your support, and
Thank you.
looking forward to hearing from you more in the future.
Absolutely. I have some creative coming your way.
All right.